Thank you for the warm welcome and excited to be here and to be sharing my experiences. So what we'll do is for the next 30 minutes, I'll be talking about what are the different nuances of product management and how is it different in working as a product manager in some of these fan companies, what skills you need to build. And maybe we'll take the question and answers towards the end because I'll not be able to see the questions in the chat window. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'll first start with what are the skills of a product manager, and I have put it into these six different buckets, which are some of the essential skills which you need to build as a product manager. So the first and the foremost is the obviously the data and analytical skills, because as a PM, when you work in a company, you are thrown data from different sources. You talk to customers, you talk to sales team, customer success team. There's a lot of data which is collected in the product, so all of this data is for you to be able to consume and to draw insights, and it helps you to bring you closer to your customers. So you need to have very strong data and analytical skills. And of course, and all of you would have become very much comfortable with Excel now, but Excel is just one starting tool. You'll need to understand things like A/B testing, building hypothesis, and things like that. So yeah, so that's the first and foremost skills which you need to build and be comfortable with. Building your comfort level with different types of data, both structured and unstructured. The second skill of a product manager, which especially is very important when you are starting off as a product manager, is execution. Because contrary to the popular belief, when you are starting as a product manager, obviously you'll not do a lot of strategy and you'll not do a lot of road mapping and things like that. There will be senior people in the team who have done the strategy or who have built a product roadmap. And of course, as when you join as a junior PM, your emphasis should be on execution, putting your heads down and executing projects. And this is the most complex part I have felt, and this is the thing which everybody needs to master, because as a PM, you do not have any direct authority over different teams. You do not have authority over engineering or data science teams, yet you need to get the results done. So flawless execution, getting results, getting the work done, and you know um, executing towards the final goal. So this is the second most important skill of a product manager. The third skill, which especially in the context of B2C product is very important, not that it is not important for B2B products, but mostly for B2C products. Take for example any food delivery app and e-commerce app, is design. And why I emphasize it is more important for B2C product is, in case of B2C product, there are millions of users. So your end customer or end user persona are the end users, like people like you and me, and they're in millions. And you do not necessarily talk to them. So your only lever that you have to deliver the value or to impress them is the design, flawless design, understanding the inherent needs and the nuances of design. And there are different design principles which you can study. Lean building lean design, designing for inclusivity, designing for people with special abilities. So these are some of the newer focus areas, right, which PMs are grasping. What happens in case of B2B product, why I say design is less important, is the user personas are people who are doing work in their workplace. Like it could be a consider a account manager or somebody in the finance team, and they're not very much open to frequent design changes because it just breaks the workflow as part of their day-to-day work. So you can have some leeway in terms of design in B2B products, but in B2C products, having a excellent sense of design is very much important. The fourth skill of a product manager is discovery. And as you mature as a PM, you'll understand like there are different ways you can do discovery about your end customers, and you have tons of different ways and data to get to the discovery. Uh, I will give an example for B2B. What are the different sources of doing discovery? Um, so here, for example, if you are building a product for another customer, a B2B kind of product, so many a times your roadmap and discovery happens because of the large customers who have bought your product, or who are big enough in your revenue book. So they are the first lever or the first source which is available for discovery. The second would be account teams and account executives, like sales people from the sales team who talk to the customers. So more often than not, they are closer to the actual customer and they are closer to the problems. So they also give you a lot of inputs on how the product can evolve, or what are some of the use cases you can cater to. So that would be the second team. The third team, which is becoming more important, in especially in case of SaaS-based products, is CSM. It's called Customer Success Manager. They're mostly responsible for renewals for SaaS-based products. So what they do is they look for how is the usage of the product in the customer's premises, in the end customer's premises. Is the end customer adopting the product enough? What are the hindrances? And they help you understand and plug those gaps if the product is not getting adopted enough. Fourth lever for you would be support teams. So they get a lot of tickets and a lot of issues reported by end customers. So obviously you can glean that data and you can bring up some themes of common problems to solve. The fifth would be like doing your own dog fooding, like you use your product and then you go through the happy path, you find the challenges in the happy path and where are the users struggling, using data from surveys, using exit surveys, FGDs, other kind of surveys which are capturing various data. Plus there are other tools which can be integrated in the UI of the product, which can help you understand user bounce rates and how is the user journey looking, what does the session map look like, and things like that. So yeah, so this is more on the discovery. So when I say the fifth skill of a product manager is disambiguation or driving consensus. And this becomes very important, especially in teams which are distributed or in very large organizations. So will need to work with like 5 to 6 different teams who are not in the same geo, and they're distributed across different geographies. And probably there are also different teams in terms of what they do. Think like marketing, legal, compliances, engineering, data science. So how do you all bring all of them in the same page so that the project or the product moves forward? And here, what will come to your rescue is your excellent communication, written skills, documentation skills. How are you able to build a rapport with these, different teams, influence without authority, and things like that. And the sixth skill, which until a few years ago was not very important, but I am seeing that more and more companies are preferring product manager from the same domain. So as you spend like 10 to 15 years in product management, you need to build a domain expertise. Like you cannot be moving across domains. You need to have some solid domain knowledge, because that's where the industry is leading towards. A PM who has some 4 to 5 years of solid experience in one particular domain, and he knows the domain in and out. So initially you can afford to, move across different domains like e-commerce and fintech and whatnot. But eventually you need to settle down on one domain, and you need to build that domain expertise. So this is a new trend which is coming up. Okay, now let's look at the different stakeholders in the product management. I think I covered some of them, but like we are trying to map it back to the different skills of a manager, and who are the stakeholders they'll work with. So in discovery, when you are trying to build the roadmap or trying to write a one pager for the proper product, so you'll work with these teams like sales, real customer success. Similarly, when you are in execution, when the product is agreed upon and the feature is agreed upon, and you just need to go and execute. So here we'll work closely with engineering, data science, and design. So design, by design I mean UX folks, people who build the UX for the product, and a lot of very close collaboration with engineering and data science. And that's a skill every product manager needs to pick, how to influence engineering and data science without having real authority with them, how to build that collaboration with them, because this is a real success metric for a product manager. And it's a recipe for success if you're able to build that rapport with your execution teams. Now once the product is almost on the verge of completion of execution, so that's when your launch skill will come into picture. So a product is getting ready to be launched. So who are the different teams you will need to work so that the launch is flawless? So you will have marketing who will be working with you, who will be creating some GTM material, FAQs, updates to help page, and you'll have support teams because they need to be ready as well, right? When your when you're launching a new feature or launching a new product, what kind of questions they can expect, what kind of user setups questions and things which can come up, and how the support team can unblock the customer, because you don't want every request to come to engineering or the product and then their bandwidth gets choked. And for products you also need compliance, right? There are a lot of legal issues, legal nuances which vary with every geography, and then you need to be complied with that. You want to comply with those legal aspects. So different teams, there'll be policy, there'll be legal, and there'll privacy. It may seem like these teams are interrelated, but they each of them support a different function. So legal will mostly talk about the legal aspects. If at all you can build something like this, or is there a risk to building a feature, and what are legal implications within that geography or within that product. And legal more often than not will also ask you to do a privacy review, because as you know, like GDPR and CCPR, all these newer laws are coming up. So is your product privacy compliant? How are you storing user data? How are you purging data and things like that? So yeah, so these are the different stakeholders in product management. Broadly, these are the stakeholders. It may slightly change in a B2C setup, but more or less in a B2B kind of setup, these will be the different stakeholders you will be working with. Okay, let's move on. So now I want to touch upon how is product management in Fangam different from if you work for a Indian company, or if you work for a, let's say, startup kind of environment, and how is that different from large companies like Amazon and Microsoft. So first of all, the first difference comes from the nature of the teams. So you'll be working with distributed teams, and most of the projects are like that. This is what I've seen. Very few projects are within one geography. So most of the projects are distributed across geographies. So you'll need to build these written skills and documentation skills, sending very detailed yet succinct MOM to drive consensus among the teams. Cultural awareness, because cultural awareness is more of a soft skill. It will help you to build the rapport with your co-workers and the different teams. So being aware of like what does their schedule look like, what does their vacation look like, and then their holidays, and being mindful of some of these things. Then strong data analytical skills. Just to give you an example, Microsoft they hire a lot from NITs and IITs, and they go to IIMs for recruitment, and even they hire a lot of PhDs. So in my team, I work with a lot of people who have done PhDs from very reputed university from outside India, and they spent like years in research in data science. So you'll be working with these kind of folks, and these people are very data driven, and they can glean insights which is not very obvious, like understanding insights from data which is very very deep. So building these kind of skills, I've just put some of them, like this is not an exhaustive list, but understanding holdouts, concepts of holdouts, and then A/B testing. How do you prove that a feature is working or a feature is not working? How do you prove that a product is actually adding value to the company or the end user, whether to take decisions based on data, if a product should be sunset, these kind of things. And every decision of yours will be questioned based on data. You'll not be allowed to ship, you'll not be allowed to launch unless, right, you convince a lot of stakeholders through data-based storytelling. So that's the second important skills. It's very very data heavy, as I said. So you'll need to build that comfort so that you're able to self-serve also, like pull your own data. Maybe if the data is sitting somewhere in a database, you're able to write a script to pull the data, and able to draw nice visualization to explain the trends. So yeah, so this skills is the most important skill in this Fangam kind of setup. The third skill, this is not just exclusive to Fangam, but in every product role, but more often than not, like you'll need very strong storytelling skills, ability to see the bigger picture. Think for example, a company like Microsoft or Amazon, right? They have so many products. So and your product could be just a small cog in the wheel, and right, it may not be a big thing for the overall picture of the company. It may not be a big revenue mover for the company. So but when you are trying to build a product, you should be able to show your leadership the bigger picture. For example, if you are building a product which will catch a trend, which will become very much popular in 5 years from now. So you should be able to bring that bigger picture into your compete analysis, or when you do the market analysis, how is the market evolving, and why it is necessary for the company to do this kind of investments. So all this storytelling skills is very much important for you to get the right kind of funding, investments, for you to even right get a team to even do a POC. So yeah, so you need not restrict yourself just building a feature or solving a problem for the user persona, but you should be able to show the bigger picture why the company should invest in a particular product. Okay, and the fourth one is, of course, this you'll need everywhere, and collaboration, strong collaboration across products, functions, teams for complex projects. So in my experience, I have seen in last 2.5 years, most of the projects involved, teams, and these teams cut across organizations. For example, there could be a project where, just to give an example, where Azure is involved and Bing is involved and Windows is involved. Right? It could be one project cutting across three different organizations or business unit within Microsoft. So think about the complexity, and within each business unit, there is engineering, there is data science, there is design. Each has its own marketing, each has its own legal team. So think this kind of a project, how complex these projects are. So they cut across functions, they cut across business units. So yeah, so this is another differentiation you'll find when you work for this Fangam kind of setup. Okay, now I want to bust some myths in product management, right? Because right, product management has been vogue, and like a lot of people want to get into product management, but I want everyone to be mindful of the choices, right? If they want to get into product management, and I have tried to bust some myths and throw some more light on some of the popularly held beliefs. So the first is pay is good, right? And this is not necessarily always true, right? It depends on what stage of the company, and right, how's the company in terms of revenue, how big is the company, if they are a market leader or not. So the pay is good if you work for some top product companies like Fangame, and right, some other companies who are known for building products, even like companies like Salesforce and these kind of companies. So only then, like, you are able to, like, you'll hear those magical numbers which you keep hearing about good pay. The second is about having a computer science background. So this is also not necessary, right? We see product managers from so much diverse backgrounds, even not even from engineering, right? People are from some liberal arts and some other kind of background also, but they have very strong other skills. So it's not necessary that you need to have a very tech kind of background, but you can always compensate that if you have other skills, like you have very deep understanding of users, empathy, and problem solving. You are generally good in analytical skills. So it's not necessarily from computer science, but from, you could be from any background, engineering or not engineering, but you need to have these kind of skills. Having said that, at least in Indian market, I'm seeing that there's a lot of focus now for PMs to understand basics of at least technology, to understand basics of what an API is, right? Or how does an API work, right? Because you'll be working with engineering who will be talking in these parlance of, right, APIs and systems and databases. So you need to have some level of understanding, if not deep understanding. You don't need any kind of coding skills, right here, right? You just need some basic scripting skills, if at all you will have to pull some data. And the third myth is you have a big team. So at least in some of these large companies, the teams in product management is very, very lean. It's like a lot of teams follow a 10 is to 1 or a 15 is to 1 kind of ratio. So for every 15 engineer, there'll be one product manager. So more often than not, unless you go very high in the PM hierarchy, you'll not have a team. Like, you'll be an individual contributor who has like 2 to 3 products under him. But yeah, so that is how it is. But when you move to, probably I have a slide around that, how the career evolves. But when you move to a group PM or a director of product, you may have a team, and it will not be a compared to other companies, it will not be a big team. Like, you may have 3 4 PMs under you, and that's about it. And you together, you may be managing like 500 millions dollar of revenue. That could be your PNL with a 4 5 member team. Yeah, so you will not have a big team, but you will have to influence people without authority. So which means you'll have to influence people with data, with storytelling skills, with good rapport, bringing everyone board, convincing people to be on board with your vision and things like that. And the last one is you speak with customers a lot. So this is not necessarily true, and especially in B2C, like you don't talk to end users. In B2B, you'll talk to customers, but here again, it depends in which stage of the product is. If the product has matured a lot, more often than not, you'll talk to the account teams. However, if the product is just getting built and it's in the not towards the end of the life cycle, you'll talk to customers and you'll go to those sessions where sales invites you, to a customer executive briefing council or like any kind of discussion which happens with customers. So there you'll get to talk to customers. Okay, so this is what I have put. I mean, it may change slightly here and there from company to company, but think of this not as designation, but as roles that you do as you evolve in your PM career. So typically, you'll start with the APM, right? And you'll have you may not necessarily own a full product. You may have one or two areas of a product. For example, you will be given maybe driving growth of the product or driving adoption or driving two or three core features of the product. And generally, there is no P&L responsibility when you are on in a APM role, but it is very heavy on execution. Right? You need to be very good getting things done, working with engineering, and you should be somebody who gets the execution done flawless. So that should be your focus when you're joining as a APM. So your project management skills, documentation skills, um, yeah, these kind of skills will come handy when we are joining as a APM. Then comes PM, and this is referred as PM1, PM2, and these kind of names in different companies. So here typically we'll have one or two products. uh, you may be given some PNL, very small PNL responsibility. Like if your overall PM org has 100, you may be given 5 or 10 as the OKR. Again, here also it is very heavy on execution. And by the time you come to a PM role, you're expected to also have some sense of your own product and user personas. You should be able to drive meetings independently, drive customer calls independently. So that's when you spend your time as a PM. As you spend some time in PM, you move to a senior PM. So here you'll be given multiple products. It's not just one product anymore. It will be 3 to 4 products. Like especially like if I have to give an example from Microsoft, it will be multiple products, 3 to 4 products. You definitely will need to have a P&L as OKR. Like you'll have a revenue OKR and these kind of things. And you're also expected to mentor other PMs. You'll have more meetings and you'll have more face time with customers, more face time with other teams. Uh, so you can be the first point of contact. Let's say a new project comes and which cuts across multiple products. So you could be the first person who is brought into the team to do a initial assessment and to understand what sort of efforts needed and who also needs to be involved. So it is very heavy on domain. People are expected to have some domain expertise also, right? When you are in the senior PM, and very heavy on collaboration. You should be able to bring different teams on board quickly because you have that domain knowledge. So you'll be able to build that rapport and bring people on board quickly. Then you move to a principal group or director. Like the name varies from company to company, but here you'll have a suite of products. And compared to senior, like where you have 3 4 products, here it is the entire product line you are responsible for. So you'll have the full PNL responsible for the entire product line. On top of that, you are also supposed to launch newer innovation products. So bringing innovation from the market to the leadership team, convincing them like where should we invest, and launching innovation products, bringing differentiation. You'll be spending more time doing compete, understanding what our competitors are doing, understanding inherent market need, unsaid market need. You'll be talking more to sales and cross collab across orgs. So until senior PM, you have been doing cross collab across teams, products. As you move to a principal group director, you're also expected to do some cross collab across the orgs. So within one company, there could be multiple different BUs. So you should be comfortable leading a cross collaboration project, which cuts across different BUs. And then last, this could be terminal level, right? Typically head SVP and VPs of products. Like it's heavy on P&L, partnerships, investments, bringing a lot of innovation, a lot of cross collaboration. Here, the major thrust will be on P&L. Right? Year on year, you should be able to show growth. You should be able to show that the product is actually able to deliver, and we are catching up with our competitors, and also bringing newer partnerships so that wherever there's a gap in terms of offering in the market, we are able to plug in that gap. So, yeah, so this is what a typical career progression will look like in PM, and there's no fastest track. Like you need to spend decent time in each track before you can be moved on to the next track where you are comfortable to do the responsibilities of the next track. And data analytical skills is needed across all levels. As you move up, you are expected to bring these analytical skills are expected to win stronger because you have visibility across the organizations, across products, and you have more complete info. So all your analysis and the kind of questions that you ask, so that needs to be up leveled as you move up in each of the hierarchy. Okay, now I want to touch some of the nuances of building a global product. So imagine if you are working in any of these fan game companies, so more often than not, the products are global, which means you are not necessarily building for one market. So you are trying to build it for multiple different markets. So what are some of those nuances and things to keep in mind for global product? The first, as we know, is multilingual. So your product should support multiple different languages, and think of the entire spectrum, not just in UX, but even like if you have a data science model which is working, so that model should also be multilingual. It should also understand if a user is querying in Italian and Spanish, or English or German. So your entire stack, be it data science, be it UX, be it in the other layers, everything needs to support different languages. Everything has to be multilingual. And for a company like for a country like India, support for vernacular. And we know, I think IPL was done in some 12 different languages. The streaming was happening. So yeah, so that is multilingual is important when you are building a global product. Multi-currency, again, like it will also cut across the different features within the product. So multi-currency support in user experience, invoicing, account setup, everywhere you need to support multi-currency. So that's needed when you are trying to build a global product. And also like how the billing will happen, right, when you are supporting multi-currency. So you'll find scenarios like where you can, for example, show a certain currency in a certain market, but you cannot bill in that market because of legal implications. So these kind of things will come into picture. So the third is cultural nuances. So you need to be aware of different cultural nuances which are there, and how do you bring that back and tie it back into the product. For example, COD is very much prevalent in India, or social shopping is very much prevalent in China. So how are you able to study those trends and bring it back into the product thinking? So if social shopping is becoming, it's already popular, it's very much in vogue in China. So sooner or later that trend will catch up in other markets, in markets like India, which are also to some extent similar to China. So how are you able to bring that aspect into your product thinking? Um, think like, if you are trying to build a e-commerce product, can you also integrate the social aspect or the gamification aspect into that? The fourth one is geographical limitations. So because you are building a global product, and the kind of infrastructure which is there, that is not similar across the markets. There will be countries which have lower internet penetration, lower speeds in some of the other countries like sub-Saharan markets. In there, the speed is not good. So how do you build your product which can support um, these kind of markets without data, without a bad user experience? The fifth one is selling model, direct customers versus agency led. So some markets are very agency led. So there you don't directly talk to end customer, you don't directly sell to the end customers. Especially this is more for B2B kind of products management. So in those markets, if it is agency led, so you'll need to do the partnerships. You'll need to have a foot in the door through the agency. You'll need to have a field presence through the agencies versus direct customers. So if it is direct customers, can you leverage existing relationship which your company has to sell to those customers? The last one is legal implications. So just to give an example, like any kind of pharmacy ads, RX ads, which are there in US, they need to show a disclaimer. So this is a legal mandate However, this is not there in India. So these kind of legal implications will be there, which will change your product UX and what you show to the end user, how you collect data. So you need to be aware of these kind of things. Okay, now I want to talk about a bit more about some of the skills, right, which you need to build. We have already talked about some of this technical skills, as I said, right? Understanding of systems, not coding, understanding systems like databases, APIs, how do APIs work, and things like distributed systems. How do you make your product scalable to millions of users? Understand if ML and AI, everywhere there's so much AI, so you should be somebody who is understanding the use cases, the power of AI, what kind of use cases it can support, how are different AI products monetizing, yeah, how will you evaluate a model? Like you may not get in the nitty-gritties or the technical aspects of a model, but what are the metrics a team or any team looks for when they say a model, a data science model is working good or bad? How are you able to do a trade-offs? Because every model, the more complex the model, the more will be the compute cost and the infrastructure cost. So how are you able to do the trade-offs? The second skill within discovery and product sense, like you need to be good in case studies. And if you have followed case in point, that's a good starting point. And separately, like doing a lot of PM exercises, PM related case studies, because I mean, this is what is expected when you sit for any product interview. There'll be at least multiple rounds of case studies where they will judge you on your thinking about product management and how do you think about a use case and build empathy for the user problem and how do you prioritize solutions and things like that. Execution on the job. This is something which cannot be taught. You'll learn it on the job. So I suggest everyone who is inclined for PM role, so the best way to learn that is joining or taking a PM role in any company, right? It could be a mid-sized startup or it could be a large company, but you will learn the best by doing. No certification, no academic knowledge can help you a lot here. So this you'll need to build by doing the job. Written skills. So here you can go through one-pager memos. You will find a lot of it in publicly available on the internet. You'll find PRDs of Uber and Google and how Amazon writes memos, their PMs write memos. So you'll find a lot of this material on the internet. You'll also find the GTM material, especially related to marketing. So one content which I like a lot is some of the old videos of Steve Jobs where how is he pitching his product, and you'll realize that it's excellent marketing, right? While the product is good, there's so much positioning done right and the marketing is done right so that the end users are able to resonate with the product. And the last is data skills, right? Already Excel pivots, lookups, doing advanced analysis in Excel, and then on top of that, some scripting language to begin with SQL or any other scripting language like Python, or like the language is agnostic, it doesn't matter, but you should be comfortable pulling data on your own, and that is a emerging trend now. And visualization, any visualization tool so that you're able to draw trends and analyze complex data easily. I personally prefer Power BI because of its simplicity and because of its similarity to Excel, but any tool is fine here. These are some of the important resources. Medium.com, if you are not following, like you can start with medium.com. You'll find a lot of engineering and product management related articles. Then the second is a newsletter by a person called Alex Zhu, and he has a newsletter. He has two books also around system design. So I find his content very, very good, especially for PM who want to get into pure play, tech-based products and in large companies like Fangam. I find his content really relevant. He also has a subscription model for system design, which is around 2,500 rupees per year. And then the fourth resource could be engineering and data science blogs of top companies. So yeah, so every companies like Zomato and Swiggy, they publish blogs from time to time about different problems that they have solved. For example, reducing delivery time or reducing cancellations. How do you detect fraud on the product? And you'll get a lot of ideas when you go through the blogs of these companies. How are they approaching problem? How did they come up with solution? How did they validate the solution? Success metrics. You'll find a lot of these publicly available on the internet. You can go to any of these top companies and read their blogs, start reading their blogs. For data science and ML skills, again, I would suggest everyone to start with medium.com and Analytics Vidya. And ByteByteGo has a ML product subscription, which is about 2000 rupees per year. So that subscription mainly talks about building a ML based product. And as we know, as AI is becoming more and more popular, you'll see a lot of this AI product management role opening up. um, so this has use cases like building similar search based on images, or recommending people you may know in LinkedIn, things like that. So these are very AI heavy products and AI use cases. So you'll find those use cases in this ML product subscription. I find it very good. PRD's memos I have already covered from other companies like Uber, Amazon. All of this is publicly available on the internet. And for case studies, I suggest everyone PM exercises and then your case in point, so that you have a mental framework of how to approach a product management case study. So and you follow that framework so that your answers are structured. Okay, I think we took 37 minutes. We are almost on time. We can go to the Q&As.
Anyone, if you have any questions, please ask them.
Hi Asit, good evening. It was really a very enlightening session. Got to know a lot of things about product management. So I wanted to know what are the frequent tools and softwares that you used daily in your role as a product manager, and how one should utilize the time before starting their internships as a
Okay.
product manager.
Okay. Yeah. So the tools, I can tell you some tools which which are generic, which will be applicable across all the companies, like any visualization tool like Power BI and Tableau. Having said that, all these large companies, they have their own internal tools where they have captured, where they can keep capturing data, and where the lot of telemetry and lot of insights is there. So every company, take any large company, they will have their own internal tool where they would have built visibility into how the product is getting used and what the users are doing. So yeah, so mostly you will be using a lot of these internal tools. But if you want to be conversant, right, you can start with Power BI and Excel. That's a good starting point.
Understood. Thank you.
Lakshay, you can go ahead now.
Yeah. Hi, Asit. Thanks a lot for that great session. I had a question pertaining to specifically analytics, right? So I understand that when we talk about Power BI or Tableau, so these tools help you in data visualization. But is there any specific like roadmap or something you would advise if someone has to like target the niche of analytics, like analytical product management? So how should one go about that? If you could give some advice on that, that would really help.
Yeah. So if you are aware, like you if you read, right, there's so much buzz around AI, and right, so you will see the product management even evolving in that direction. PMs will be expected to understand data science use cases, not just rudimentary analytics like visualization and insights, but also data science. So
Yeah.
I will advise everyone to be comfortable with understanding at least how to evaluate a model, or right, what kind of a model will be helpful here. So as I said, like you can start with Analytics Vidya. That's a good starting point. Don't go deep, but at least understand the different ML based problems like classification and clustering, and then whatever, right, is there, tree based predictions. So understand that, and then yeah, on top of that, I suggested that ML subscription by Alexu. I think that's a good starting point. You will I think they have covered some 11 different use cases, similar images, and doing image similarity, video similarity, and things like that. So yeah, that will be a good starting point, right, for you.
Got it. That helps. Thanks a lot.
There are a couple of questions in the chat. I'll just read them out for everyone's benefit.
Yes.
So, Saurabh asks, are learning design tools like Figma useful? If yes, till what proficiency?
Okay. Yeah. So I would suggest, right, Figma is not necessarily needed, because you'll have a separate UX team who will be using Figma to produce this Figma designs. Rather, I would suggest that you read about the UX principles, right? There are principles like Hicks law and minimalism and things like that. So instead of spending time on a tool like where like Figma, which most likely on the UX team will be doing that, learn about the different design principles and principles of reducing waste and improving user experience through more through a better design. So your design sense should be higher rather than knowledge of the tool.
Saurabh, I hope that answers your question. Vidushi Bharadwaj now asks, hi sir, is there a path to master design thinking? Can you suggest some courses or any other sources?
Okay, so I've not come across a course on design thinking. There are different courses, but I'm not really sure how helpful they are. I would suggest you to just search about different design principles when building a product. Just do a Google search or go to medium.com and read about the different design principles. So I think that will give you a good idea of how they're doing. The second is by learning by actually seeing the products around you. Like open any app, Zomato or Swiggy or Ola, and any app like which is generally known for good, very strong empathy for users. Zomato, for example, does a lot of good work. Open their app and see how are they mindful of the user choices and how are they differentiating on their designs. So you'll learn more by seeing things around you, the day-to-day things, day-to-day apps that you use.
Vidushi, I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? Okay. Since there are no questions, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you everyone for being part of the talk. On behalf of the alumni committee, I would like to thank you, Asit sir, for taking out time on a Sunday for us. We're all grateful for your insights, and I'm sure we'll all gain from it. I would also like to thank the Chair Alumni Affairs, Professor Prabin Panigrahi, for his guidance and support. I also thank the Alumni Office, whose efforts made this talk a possibility. Finally, a big thank you to the audience for their enthusiasm and engagement. We look forward to seeing you on the next session as well. Thank you, Asit. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.